mother makes no secret of the fact that she thought I was a very strange child. At 8, she would quietly shake her head as I would read Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart to her, just reveling over the descriptions of the madman's fascination with the old man's cloudy eye. At 11, she decided it was time to have a chat with my father as she sat and watched me chuckling while Freddy Krueger skewered teen after teen and Michael Myers threw them out of windows. And at 15, she considered having an exorcism performed as I began dressing in all black and navy blue and carrying around various volumes of Stephen King. Now, any of you that have been or known teenage girls know there's good reason why you might think them possessed. Needless to say, when I graduated with a PhD and received my first position teaching Gothic literature and horror film studies, my mom was quite surprised. She said, quote, "I can't believe you convinced someone to pay you to do this." And now I'm Dr. Maisha Wester, an associate professor, a Fulbright scholar, hosted at the University of Sheffield, working in the English department, and working with their Gothic Center, where I'm having an amazing time working with their fabulous students. Now, admittedly, what I do is a bit more complex than just reading Stephen King. I'm going to tell you a bit more about that right now. Imagine it's 1791. It's late in the evening. We're wandering through a dark forest on the side of a mountain in a country named Saint-Domingue, what we now call Haiti. In the distance, we see a glowing light. And as we get closer to this eerie glow, we begin to hear the sound of drums. And as we draw even closer, we hear chanting. And we discover what we've stumbled upon is the Voodoo Ceremony. This is the Voodoo Ceremony at Boss Cayman, the ceremony that supposedly starts the Haitian Revolution. And this is a revolution which is better than any Stephen King or Edgar Allan Poe novel in its descriptions. Accounts of the day mark it as so violent and bloody that rivers of blood flow through the countryside. The slave rebels are so monstrous, they impale infants and use them as their standards. Now, of course, Westerners are mystified over why this is happening. British accounts, such as those by Brian Edwards, say, well, it's those French. They're far too brutal in their punishments of their slaves. They take too much sadistic pleasure in their torments. Of course, their slave population is going to rebel. Americans, such as Peter Chazet, take a more conspiratorial tone. They say it's the Brits. They're plotting rebellion and revenge. Angered that France had the gall to aid America in her freedom, well, they've plotted with the Wilberforce Society to overthrow and destroy France's prized possession. And the French, well, they say, it's those silly slaves. They believe in this crazy voodoo that thinks they makes them invincible. We can't help them. We might consider what's missing from these accounts. Let's fast forward roughly 200 years. It's 1981 and 1985 Brixton. These are the years of the Brixton riots. And again, the newspaper accounts of these riots verge on apocalypse. The only thing missing from Brixton at this time are clans of cannibals. Police are rumored to have said to citizens, well, lock your doors and good luck. Got nothing for you. You're warned against going into Brixton. Enter at your own peril. The South London press prints articles about teens threatening to vivisect their victims. The Daily Telegraph reports accounts of rape gangs roaming the streets of Brixton, having raped just one of their victims over 30 times. And again, the question is, why? Well, the Daily Mail suggests it's the work of anarchists, hoping to subvert and overthrow London. They are the source of this unrest. The South London Press argues, well, it's chaos for the mere love of destruction and hatred of the police. And they present headlines such as, "A riot a day keeps the coppers away." Again, you may ask, what's missing from these accounts? Now, if we look at the 1981 rebellion, we discover that this riot is caused by a rumor that a young man, the victim of a knife attack, is dragged from his car on the way to the emergency room by cops seeking to interrogate him. It turns out this is just a rumor, but the fact that the people of Brixton deem this story plausible tells us a lot about the climate in Brixton at that time. In 1985, the riot started as a reaction to the shooting of a grandmother. Late in the evening, police burst into her home unannounced, having given no warning, in search of the gunman who is suspected to have participated in an armed robbery. The family's asleep. The grandmother is there with her 2 children and their grandchildren. She jumps, startled, from her bed and runs and is shot in the back. The people of Brixton react with rage. Now, in these moments, the violence is a result of a complex assault. What we're seeing in 1791, in 1981, in 1985, is a determination to insist on Black sovereignty and agency. We're seeing a reaction, an explosion against being treated as less than citizen, less than human. I love a good horror story. They're satisfying. I know this as much as anyone else. And what we're doing is turning these events and these people into satisfying stories. Now, I still love the Gothic and horror film. And I will admit, I do chuckle in glee when my students scream at a film that I'm showing them for class. And people still take a step back when I tell them what I do, saying, "Oh, but you seem so nice and so friendly." You still can find me curled up any day, reading plots of vile villains and hysterical heroines. But now, as I read, I can't help but think of the ways in which we're boiling down complex people to digestible tropes and complex events to Gothic stories. Thank you.